Hey everyone, LongTime here, and welcome to our second character overview. The unit we're going to be going over is none other than this week's release, Oberon Hindler. We're going to be covering many topics, including a basic overview of his stats, rating his TMR, then going into a deep dive covering all of his skills, equipment, Espers, vision cards, and teammates that synergize with his kit and playstyle. Starting us off is the character overview of Oberon. He is a 100 cost non-limited Earth unit. He has move 3, jump 4. His main job is the unique Young Dragon King. His subs are Viking and Nightblade. He can equip spears, armor, helmets, and accessories. His personal master ability is plus 10% HP and 10 single target resistance. He'll boost Earth units by 10% HP and give 15 Earth attack. Being an Earth unit, he has 20% lightning resistance and negative 10% wind. His damage type resistances are plus 10 slash, plus 5 pierce, plus 15 missile, and minus 10% magic. So his only weakness is to magic. Finally, he has 50% resistance to stop and stun with a 10% to paralysis. These are pretty good resistances to have. Oberon's TMR is Dragon Fang Pauldrons. The stats on it are nothing impressive with 449 HP, 8 defense and spirit, and 10 crit rate. It's equipable by all armor-wearing main jobs. The ability attached to this TMR is a unique one though. Presence of the Dragon is a single-use 24 TP cost ability that is this game's first global-wide ability, besides the Esper effects. It nullifies haste for enemies, plus decreases their crit rate by 20 for 2 turns at max level, while also giving the wearer 40% attack for 3 turns. For auto battle, I wouldn't really recommend this TMR because not being able to exactly control when it goes off, lowering crit rate by 20 isn't enough in an effect to warrant the importance of a TMR slot. For manual battle though, I would consider this a possible pick if you think your opponent is going to be using haste a lot. It's a great global removal tool to keep your opponents from potentially lapping you. For skills, we're going to be starting off with both Oberon's support and counter abilities. Oberon's support abilities are Tracer, which upgrades his Soaring Dragon Spear ability and increases acquired AP by 40 for himself. Viking Lore, increasing HP by 12% and attack by 24%. Dragon Spear Mastery, increasing attack by 24% and increasing defense penetration by 40. Nightblade Mastery, increasing attack by 30%, accuracy by 25%, and decreasing his evasion rate by 10% at max level. And lastly, Unyielding Protection, giving missile resistance plus 15% for himself. When I plan on building Oberon, the support abilities I will most likely use for him will depend on whether I'm going to be going for pure DPS or trying to be a bit tanky with him as well. If I was going to go for tanky, I'd most likely be going Viking Lore and Unyielding Protection to get that extra 12% HP and 15 missile resistance while adding on that extra little bit of 24% attack. If I wanted a more damage spec, I would go Dragon Spear Mastery and Nightblade Mastery for the combined 54% attack, 25 accuracy, and 40 defense penetration. The Tracer ability has potential as it changes Soaring Dragon Spear into a locked-on jump, similar to Christmas Mastery's EX. There are plenty of ways that you could make it work if you wanted, but I would probably stick to the other two for the time being until further testing. Oberon's 3 counters are as follows: Purple Dragon's Blade, Fighting Spirit, and Counter Swing. The easy pick for this one for sure is Purple Dragon's Blade, with it basically being the same as Dragoon's Dragon Blade, but now having a piercing modifier. This reaction will be doing some good damage and healing Oberon for a lot. Up next is Oberon's main job abilities, so it doesn't matter what sub job you are, you will always have these abilities available to you. This guide will be going over the plus versions of the skill, assuming that you are trying to eventually 120 out Oberon. His first skill is Halting Spear Plus, dealing earth-piercing damage at 126 modifier, piercing through 3 range with a 25% chance to inflict stop, 6 cast, 15 AP. Purple Dragon's Providence, increasing his critical evasion for 30 and AoE resistance by 15 in a cross pattern for all allies, 3 casts, 30 TP. Royal Rend, dealing piercing earth damage, 165 modifier, dealing a 2x5 range in front of him, 3 casts, 2 hits, also having a 25% chance to inflict stun at 32 AP. Purple Dragon's Aegis, with a cast time, giving him a barrier that reduces all damage taken by 50% for 3 times. It also gives him a pierce attack bonus of 3 turns for himself. 2 casts, 40 TP. Soaring Dragon Spear, dealing earth piercing damage at 185 multiplier, decreasing pierce resistance by 25%. 3 casts, 24 AP, being able to be upgraded by the Tracer ability to turn into a lock-on jump. His final main job ability is Thunder Smite, increases Lightning Killer by 25, earth piercing damage, 200% multiplier with a 100% hit chance. 3 uses, 28 AP. Oberon's main job skills you'll be using a lot is going to be his Halting Spear Plus, Purple Dragon's Aegis, and Thunder Smites. Oberon having access to a 50% damage mitigation shield is incredibly strong and will help him stay healthy in fights. Halting Spear Plus only costing 15 AP with being able to inflict stop is a super strong skill. Just make sure that the target you're going after isn't resistant to stop. And Oberon having access to a 200% modifier, 100% hit chance ability is crazy good. Evasion has become more relevant again, so a unit that is this tanky having access to such a hard-hitting move is a scary thing. If you choose to use the Tracer support ability, having access to lock-on Soaring Dragon Spear is another potential tool, as you can't get hit by your opponent while you're jumping. Going over Oberon's sub-jobs now. As it stands right now, I would probably keep Oberon as Young Dragon King sub, with maybe some Nightblade if I really wanted my team to have Pierce and Missile Resistance buff. The Young Dragon King sub gives him Banner of the Dragon for Move and Jump +1, and Subjugating Spear, a plus pattern range 3 Pierce move that also lowers Earth resistance by 30%, which gives him ranged AoE damage and boosts Earth damage for his teammates as well. I can't picture myself ever running Viking sub-job as it stands right now. Oberon's Limit Break 8-Path Dragonshine is a range 4 plus pattern attack that decreases all elemental resistances by 20% for 3 turns. This is not only Oberon's farthest reaching ability, it also helps his case to be included in any team lineup, as being able to boost all elemental damage for teammates is extremely versatile. It's a super colorful limit break that deserves to never be skipped or underestimated. For equipment, there are absolutely other pieces of gear that you can use for Oberon that I don't suggest here. I'm just going to be going over the best ones at +5 that I would recommend. Things like Armor of Light or Golden Armor can of course work, but we're trying to min-max in this guide. So always assume I'm talking about everything max stats and +5. For weapons, the Elemental Spear is a new spear that comes out this week with Oberon. It's practically made for him with the innate 30 earth damage at +5. There's only one other spear in the game at the moment that I'd recommend as well as a replacement. The Final Fantasy IV Wind Spear is the other spear I'd recommend for Oberon. With it having 29 more attack and 5 more pierce attack modifier, those numbers sadly won't make up for the damage Elemental Spear gets from the +30 earth damage. But the main draw to the Wind Spear is the +5 agility it has on it. Agility tuning can be very important for fights, so not having to worry about agility on your armor, accessory, or TMR slot can be worth the sacrifice of damage if the situation calls for it. Knight Armor, with its big 20 spirit and 10% magic resistance, it can really help against the only damage type Oberon is naturally weak to. Platinum Helm is a nice piece of gear, as Slash is still by far the most popular form of damage in the game. Built for barrier, you also receive a nice chunk of spirit to help with that magic damage as well. The honorable mention is going to be the Dragon Armor coming in a future raid. As you can see from the equipable jobs, only spear-wielding main jobs can use it, so this gear is practically made for Oberon. Having that 3 turns of 50% Berserk and Charm resistance could be very helpful for PvP situations where you need to worry about having both of those status effects. I'm looking at you, King Mon and OG Zazan. The 15% HP is a nice bonus on top of that to give you some extra beef. The first of the accessories recommended is going to be Defense Bracer. This is such an easy piece of gear to throw on literally any unit for Guild vs. Guild these days. With Missile being everywhere, those initial 3 turns of 25% resistance and the 25% disable resistance, this is one of my most used defensive pieces of gear still to this day. If you're using Elemental Spear and a TMR without agility, but you still want some more, Pod 153 is the accessory for you. Giving a healthy amount of stats, 6 agility, and that bonus 8 single target resistance, Pod 153 is a fantastic little guy to help speed up your Oberon while giving him some support. As we mentioned with the Knight's armor in the armor section, Tidus's necklace is an accessory version of that, giving 16 spirit and 10 magic resistance, and not taking up an armor slot if you're saving that for your TMR. This necklace is great if you still want to prepare yourself against magical attackers. The plus 15 critical damage on it is just icing on the cake. The bonus addition to the accessory slot is going to be the Shinra Bangle. If you're going for pure damage increase, the 10 defense penetration and 15 critical damage on Shinra Bangle is going to be the accessory of choice. I personally would make him tankier, but I wanted to add options in here. For TMRs, this one is pretty much going to be in every character. Illusionary Bells is still the most versatile TMR in the game, giving most units more AP than they ever know what to do with. 7 agility, 14 accuracy, and equipable by every single character. It's hard to find anyone it doesn't help in some way. Kane's TMR Dragoon helmet is a great pick for Oberon, as he's a Dragoon and he kinda doesn't have a helmet. Joking aside, being a Dragoon, Oberon naturally has 4 jump, so giving him that additional move +1 and haste for 3 turns can really help him get into a good position and potentially also lap his opponent's turns. Any helmet wearer can always consider this TMR for use. Oh, Keenblade. Or should I say Rob's TMR Glinting Armor. If you've played in my PvP tournaments, or really played in any class match or any PvP, you'll know the power of this TMR. Being able to speed up your entire team to take an extra turn before your opponents is a very impressive move, especially when caught by surprise. The slash attack it gives won't do too much for Oberon personally, but it could be a nice little bonus for his teammates as they speed into the enemy lines. Some extra heft to go with Oberon's natural 50% damage shield. Agrius's TMR Holy Knight armor gives both protect and shell. It's something that could push this bruiser's survivability to a point your opponent really isn't expecting. Sacred Step is a great go-to TMR if you need some extra agility and some spirit. Unfortunately, the chances of Oberon using Purify attached to the boots aren't too likely, but you're really equipping these if you don't need your TMR slot for the ability and just need some extra agility and stats. The final slot for TMRs is going to be the Zombie Mask. With Global getting the limited equipment restriction lifted on release in comparison to JP's, this mask is also never a bad option to put on anyone. Being able to give your character a second, or even a third life if they can already do Immortal Spirit, can cause a real headache for your opponent, effectively having to kill your units 2 or 3 times instead of 1. Espers can always be super versatile, but would be even more so if Gummy removed the 50 Visor cost to respect your Espers. So we're just going to be going over 4 Espers for Oberon today. The first Esper is Golem. Golem is an excellent Esper for Oberon, as he is a tanky Esper naturally. For stats, he gives a big amount of HP and high attack and luck stats. Golem's weakness, however, is his low agility values in comparison to other Espers. Equipping Golem also gives you 25% confusion resistance, which can be helpful against the occasional snipe dagger or other skills that cause confusion. Here is an example of what paths I would go while using Golem on Oberon. I would max out his Earth Attack and Human Killer paths to try and get as much damage out of this as I could, with also going all the way down the defense tree to increase Oberon's survivability against physical attacks. Death Machine is the second Esper I would pick for Oberon. Again, like Golem, Death Machine is a naturally tanky Esper, giving high amounts of HP but low agility. The 25% charm resistance you gain is more of a thing in live PvP over auto. For talents, Death Machine is usually my go-to Esper if I'm expecting a lot of missile teams. As maxed out, it gives 25% missile resistance and 15 defense. The 10 slash attack there gives not so much for Oberon, I guess depending on what subjobs you're using for him, of course. But usually, my tanks are Engelbert and Warrior of Light, so I'm not spending the 50 Visor to respec my Death Machine, when there are technically better options for Oberon anyways. But Death Machine is still an alright option. The third Esper, I'm honestly not 100% sure on what the name is, so we're going to call him Crystal Deer. He's an Earth Esper that should be coming out real soon for Global, because he's basically made for Oberon. The 19 agility and 25% disable resistance are just fantastic to look at on this guy. Going down the talent tree, you can see that all 25% Earth attack, 15 pierce attack, 7 accuracy, 7% attack, and to top it all off with 15 missile resistance, there's basically no reason to use Death Machine. You could change around some of the nodes for that final missile resistance if you really wanted to, but that's up to personal preference at that point. The final Esper I'm going to be recommending is Titan. Global doesn't have his third awakening yet, but when it comes, it'll make Titan very similar to our Crystal Deer friend that we just covered. Basically replacing the 15 missile resistance of the Deer with 15 spirits. You pick which is more important to you. Having 15 agility and paralysis resistance is also something to consider. I would still say after all of these four, the Crystal Deer is by far the best Esper for Oberon. For teammates, I firmly believe that Oberon is a super flexible unit, along the lines of Dwayne's and Black Rose Helena in my opinion. You can virtually use them in any team, but I'll be going over Earth units today. As it stands, the game really wants us to go into mono elements, specifically looking at U-Vision cards. They're pushing it real hard. UR Zazan is a fantastic teammate for Oberon, with his 3 lives to increase his durability, high damage, movement, evasion, and accuracy. Any Earth team is lucky to include UR Zazan if you have him. I would pair Oberon with Keton if I were going for more of a Drain Force focused build. Oberon is not an evasive unit, so building your team more tanky, Drain Force Keton fits in perfectly with her sustain, mobility, and constant threat of her stopping limit break. Noctis, not being technically out yet, is also a natural pair for Oberon. They both naturally boost each other through their master abilities. Noctis also has access to slashing, piercing, and strike damage abilities, so he's very flexible to chain with his teammates, doesn't matter who they are. With his Armiger Arsenal buff, he is also one of the few units who can actually deal with all the guts and re-rays going about these days. Remember, the Final Fantasy XV event is right around the corner, so be sure that you have enough Visor saved up if you're going for Oberon fully this Wednesday and you still want Noctis in the future. Moraga is a super solid Earth unit. With him being in the selection quests, as long as you're able to complete them, he's available to anyone. With access to Immortal Spirit from his Paladin subjob, good movement from his Ninja support, Moraga is a very versatile Earth teammate for Oberon. Notice a trend here. For the Earth side of things, Oberon likes his tanky friends, and Luel is no exception. Scholar is a very tanky mage class that is able to buff up her teammates, as well as put out some good damage. Unfortunately, Earth doesn't have the best access to mage vision cards, but that still won't stop Luel from standing beside Oberon on the front lines if you choose. As you can see, Kilfei has an Asterisk beside her. She currently doesn't have her EX in Global, but she was the original battle mage for War of the Visions. She is also really the only healer that Earth has access to. If you want to continue with the mono Earth team, Kilfei can fill that role as a damage-dealing healer for your team. I would just recommend waiting for her EX first to pair her with Oberon. For vision cards, we're going to be going over 6 of them in total. The cards I mentioned don't have to specifically be put on Oberon, but all these will help him, even if they're on his teammates. The first vision card is our good old Crystal Deer. This vision card gives 322 HP, 147 attack, and 3 agility on the vision card for free. The unit effect is 10 human killer and 5% HP for Earth units. My guess is that Oberon will most likely get a global exclusive buff on this vision card, but we won't know for sure until it comes out. The party effect is 20 single target resistance, 8% agility, and 35 pierce attack for Earth units. Everything that is Crystal Deer equals Oberon pretty much. The good balance of damage and HP for the equipped units, and the single target resistance and agility for the team, with that max party bonus being pierce attack, just staying with the Oberon theme, it's going to serve him really well if you want to give Oberon specifically this vision card in the future. The next vision card is also another one that's not technically out, and that's Noctis's card. This card will most likely have Noctis specific global bonuses on it too, so we'll have to wait and see what those are. The 50% attack and 18% dexterity, as well as the 20% magic resistance to that, are all stats that either improve Oberon's strengths or help cover his weaknesses. As we went over in the teammate section, Final Fantasy XV event is coming probably pretty soon, and this is a limited time vision card for that event. So try and have enough for both Noctis and this card if you're going to be going for them to complement Oberon. The Golem Vision card is a super useful card that gives massive amounts of HP to your teammates and really stick it to those lightning teams. Again, looking at you, Cloud, Freddy, and Charlotte, the Earth resistance on the unit effect isn't too amazing, but it could help if you're running into Earth mirror matches in the future. The main focus of this vision card is absolutely to hunt lightning teams with though. Secrets of the Heart is purely here for the party ability Luck Up plus 35%. Yes, Oberon has a 100% hit move, but if your other teammates don't, they may have an extra hard time against evasion teams. Mono Earth Evasion is a popular team right now with Ketone, UR Zazan, and then really you can kind of fill in any third you want for that team. So that extra 35% luck would be very helpful to your team overall. Speaking of that team, the 20% Earth resistance bonus at max is also something extra, I guess, in that exact scenario if you're going up against a lot of other Mono Earth teams. Halloween Monsters is the new limited vision card that just came out this Halloween. This card was mainly made for Halloween Fred, but it does give Earth its own 15% agility card, which is always a big option. Giving 8 Spirit and 20 Pierce resistance will also help you go against fellow Oberon mirrors, gaining an upper hand maybe, and dampening incoming magic damage just a little. The Crystal Deer vision card does give 8% agility, so you'll have to decide between which vision card bonuses you want to pick between. Solitary Lion is most likely not going to be put on your Oberon, but that doesn't mean he won't be getting any benefit from it. The 35 Earth Attack, 13 Accuracy, and 35 Slash Resistance Penetration can all technically be used by Oberon, some more useful than others. Solitary Lion will most likely be equipped by UR Zazan if you have him, but doesn't mean it couldn't be put on Moraga if you wanted to use him instead. And that about covers all I wanted to go over for Oberon Heindler. Oberon is a very, very strong unit. I stand by that he is as flexible as Dwayne or Black Rose Helena. You can put him on virtually any team comp and he would make it work with his high damage, 50% shield, and being a strong counter to lightning as it sits right now in the meta. I personally won't be pulling for Oberon right now, but I do plan on building him in the future as I like using Earth units. Who knows? Maybe I'll get him while I'm going for Noctis when the Final Fantasy 15 event finally comes out. If you're planning on pulling, I wish you the best of luck on getting the Dragon Prince, and may his flashy limit break destroy any lightning problems you have been having. Thanks so much if you made it this far into the video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if this review helped you at all, and I'll see you next time.